Alright, got it. We got it. Hi guys, this is I guess part 3 of this little home studio. Wanted to take a quick moment and address another one of the really popular questions that I get across the blog and throughout comments on videos and also social media, along with how I make money. The other one I get frequently is, how does this happen? How logistically can I travel abroad? Although I'm a notorious non-planner, but for those that have maybe a week or a month to experience a place, you gotta do things a little bit faster. And for that, I wanna give some tips. Actually, there are 5 quintessential steps to planning a trip, things that I've learned over the last few years of doing this, and I wanted to jump in and show you guys how to do it logistically. So the first of the 5 steps that I've figured out on how to plan the best trip is the first thing you have to do is pick a location. And I know this sounds super easy, but it can be a very overwhelming task, especially when the world is a big place and there are a lot of things to see and do.
It's a big, big world.
Don't you agree? Big enough for you and me. I'm a big old sloth. I may be slow, but see my friends swing high and low.
And with picking a place, I think it comes down to 4 things. Number 1 is, how much time do you have? For example, if you only have a week and you live in New York, you're not gonna fly to Australia. Number 2, what's your cost restraints? There are many places in this world to travel on a very tight budget. For example, Bolivia is a lot cheaper than Brazil, Albania is a lot cheaper than Italy, and Portugal is a lot cheaper than Germany. So you just have to be smart about how much money you have allocated for this trip. The third thing is the fun part, and that is the inspiration. When picking a place, you gotta think about where you've always wanted to go, what places have intrigued you, and how you can turn that dream into a plan. And the last thing to consider when choosing a destination is the visa requirements. How easy is it to get into the country? Can you get a tourist 90-day visa? Do you have to do extra paperwork at your local consulate to get permission? Or can you just get it on arrival? These are things to consider when planning your trip. Step number 2 is to book a ticket. And I know that sounds like I'm jumping the gun here, but there's never a perfect time to travel. There's never a perfect time to quit your job. There's never a perfect time to take a break. You can always find an excuse. But for me, especially, what I do is I figure out that place from step 1, and then I book a ticket. Without much information, without a big idea on what's gonna happen, but I figure out the place and then I book the ticket. Because that gives you your deadline. That gives you your culmination point. No matter what, all the things that I can do and excuses I can make, that date is when I leave. And with this second step of buying that ticket right off the bat comes the frequent question of, how do I find cheap tickets? And there's a lot of things that are out there on the internet, and I'll leave some information, some links actually in the description of this video of my favorite tools that you can utilize. And there's a lot that you can cover with this one. The idea that an incognito window is best on your browser so that the airline companies and comparison sites can't search your cookies. The second thing a lot of people say is that you want to book on a specific day. It's said that 3 p.m. on a Tuesday is best, and other people say Wednesday early in the morning is best. But I think overall the consensus is you want to book middle of the week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are often the lowest prices. That's when the airlines change their prices. And also you want to fly in the middle of the week. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, that is because most business travelers and a lot of other travelers won't fly during the week. So with limited demand, the better the supply. Another thing a lot of people say is that 6 weeks before your trip is the best time to book a ticket. 6 weeks. Another tip is if you're doing a long haul flight, let's say from New York to Australia, which I did last year, I actually booked one ticket to LA, from New York to LA, and then a completely separate ticket from LA to Sydney. And that saved me about $400. So if you're doing these long haul flights, break them up and look separately as well. And those are things that frequent travelers often associate with price deals, but the biggest way to save money on a flight is to be flexible with your destination airport and also your days of flying. For example, if you switch your return date from a Sunday to a Monday, it potentially could save you a couple $100s. Another tip to finding cheap tickets is to do your research across multiple sites, both comparison sites and directly through airlines. But you want to be testing all of these because they're not all the same, and often one comparison site won't have the same prices or even airlines as another one. One tool that I really like now is google.com/flights, and that gives you a whole map. If you put in your home destination and the dates that you want to fly, it gives you a bunch of different locations and pricing. And this might not be completely accurate, but it gives you an idea of cheaper locations versus more expensive ones. A great tool, and I believe kayak.com also has that with their Explore feature and a few other sites as well. And another really important thing to note when finding cheap flights is the evaluation of these discounted airlines and discounted prices with the overall cost. Both cost as in money and cost as in your time and your energy. Discounted airlines like Spirit, Allegiant, Ryanair, and Norwegian will offer low rate prices, but that's just so they can move up on a comparison site list. Once you go in and actually go through the process of buying a ticket, you're paying money for your baggage, you're paying money for food, you're paying extra money just so they can land safely. It adds up very, very quickly. So make sure you look at all of the fine print on those tickets.
How you doing?
Okay. Good. Can I have a glass of water, please?
Just a minute.
Small plane.
Yeah.
And along those same lines, if it takes you 48 hours to get to a destination versus 24 hours, but it's going to save you $200, that might not be worth it for you. In one regard, with time that you're losing, and two, how much money are you going to spend in the airports when you're waiting around for your next flights? Two last things to note with finding a good cheap ticket online. Number one, if you're a student, there are many sites that gives you student discounts on flights like STA Travel, for example, or Flight Center. So those are really good things to look at if you're under, I believe, 26 years old. And the second thing is utilizing travel credit cards. And there are a lot of travel hacking websites that you can look at for these. I use the Chase Sapphire Preferred card myself. So it's a really good idea to leverage the money that you're already spending towards travel. So that information all falls into number two. The second most important thing you can do after you figure out your destination is to book a ticket. Just book it. And then you have this goal, you have this carrot in front of you that you can work towards all the way up to that date. Okay, so the third step in planning a trip abroad is to find a place to stay. I usually book about 2 or 3 days at the location that I'm going to first. Especially the fact that if I'm staying in a place for a long period of time, which I usually do, I try to get an apartment with roommates in those first few days. But for most people, this isn't the case. And finding a place to stay throughout the trip is a really good thing to do in advance. And now this all comes into the fact of what type of traveler are you? And I'll break things down into 4 basic types of travelers. The first is that nomadic and vagabond group who rent the RVs, the sailboats, go camping, go all out, and those people probably don't need to be watching this video. The second type of traveler is your backpacker, the people that are going to stay in your hostels or your couch surfing on a tight budget. These people are always looking for a deal, and while you're always hunting for the cheapest and most basic accommodations, this is definitely one of the best ways to meet people abroad. The third set of travelers are those that are staying in more socially sourced accommodations. For that I mean homestays, Airbnbs, house sitting, even woofing projects. These are the type of people that want to jump into the culture and live amongst the people. And this is my favorite way of traveling, a great way to learn about the place. For those that are traveling with friends or a significant other, this is a great alternative option to those hotels and resorts. And that brings us to the last set of travelers, the hotel and resort crew. And while I don't do much of this type of travel, it's a really good way to just relax and unwind if that's the type of vacation that you're looking for, and very, very easy to plan for. For example, when I was in Ireland doing that road trip around the country, I would call hotels.com about an hour before I reached the village that I was going to stay in for the night, and I would ask what types of bookings that they have available. It's a great service and very, very easy to use. And they have a really good rewards program as well. I believe it's every 10 accommodations, you get the 11th for free. So when you're traveling a lot, it's a great way to add up a couple of free nights. Okay, so the fourth step in planning your trip abroad, once your flight is booked, your dates are set, and your accommodations are all tied up, it is time to start making contact with people in the destination that you're going to. Now, if you're in a couple or if you're going with a group of friends, this isn't as important to you. But for someone like me who travels alone, finding people to interact with once you hit the ground is very crucial. Good morning and welcome to Hamburg, Germany. I'm alongside adventurer, author, and German master, Steve Hamish. This is 48 hours in Hamburg. I just took a train up from Berlin last night, and we're gonna go explore the best of this city has to offer, and that includes eating hamburgers. So let me give you an example of how I would do this, how I would find contacts before I would get to a destination. First thing I would do is I would look on my Facebook page to see if I have any friends there. The second thing I would do is go to Instagram and check the people that I follow, see if there's anyone I could possibly contact. I'd then go onto YouTube and check different videos from Japan and see if there's any cool YouTubers that possibly live there and might want to stop for a coffee. And it goes on and on from there. I check blogs, you check other different social medias, apps like Travel Stoke and Couchsurfing. These are great ways to connect with locals before you get there. And let me tell you, if you have a local connection in a foreign place, it helps you so much with logistics. Any small problem that you have, whether it be a language issue or something as simple as shipping a package, if you have a local contact, it smooths out so much of your travel burdens. I highly recommend it. And the fifth and final step to planning this trip abroad is the detailed logistics. So you want to ask yourself, one, do I have enough money to make this trip? And that is a video I can do unto itself. A question that I get very frequently. And to that I would respond, start saving money and stop spending money on things that are unnecessary.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Another more detailed things that come along with that are, do you have your travel insurance all set? Just make sure you read over the policy. We had one policy when we went to Everest, and it wouldn't cover us over 10,000 feet. The problem with that is our hike started at 10,000 feet. So you want to make sure that you read the small print of your insurance policy. And another thing is, are you going hiking on this trip? Will you be doing lots of physical activity? Travel will take a lot out of you. And you want to make sure that you are in good physical shape to do it. And not only for your own health and well-being, but I mean, when you're on that foreign beach, you want to be looking good, right? You also want to ask yourself, do I know the language, or will I be able to communicate where I'm going? And if you can't, I highly recommend learning at least the basics. Hello, goodbye, thank you, how much is this, where is that? This will take you a long way, and it will also help you earn some respect and appreciation for the place that you're going to.
Et moi, I'll have the boil for the bill. Boil.
Je parie que votre femme a une paire de lolos.
Excellent.
Good choice.
Honey, speak the language. They're going to be very nice. Just try.
Oui.
And the final step that I would recommend once all these other things are organized is just to start making a list of the things that you want to see and do in a place. Whether you saw an Instagram photo of a cathedral or a mountain, write it down. If you want to eat something, write it down, and that way you have a cool checklist that you can go through, almost like a scavenger hunt for your vacation. And yeah, that's it. Those are my 5 steps to planning a trip abroad. A very simple video, but I want to give you a little bit of insight of how I go through the process, as well as some tools that make it a little bit easier for you. The big thing to take away from this that I would recommend is book that ticket, give yourself that carrot in front of you to really push for, and then don't worry too much about the details. The great thing about travel is they work themselves out if you put yourself out there. If you have anything specific that you want to know, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below and I'll answer it immediately. And as always, please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Leave a comment below and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you have, go ahead and hit that notifications bell so you receive updates when I launch a new video. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week.